Hi, I'm the Moonlit Page Turner. Grab your treat, grab your tea, and let's talk books. For this month, we are traveling to Belize. Now, Belize is our first Central American read, and Belize is also known as being the last of the British colonies. They broke away from England in 1973, which is not that long ago. So, before they were called Belize, they were called British Honduras. And in our two reads, we have a fiction and nonfiction. We will see the political turmoil in Beka Lamb, and this has to do with should they break away from the crown or and be part of the Commonwealth, or should they join with Guatemala? So we see some internal struggles within the country itself. Now, they are still part of the Commonwealth, so they did break away from England, but they are part of the Commonwealth, and that's why English is their official language, hence why both of our books today are not translated. I did cheat with the second one. The second one is Sastun, and that is by Rosita Arvigo. And Rosita is not originally from Belize. She does live there for several years with her husband and children. But I chose that book because it is nonfiction and it is about Don Elijio Panti. And he is or was, he passed away a couple of years after the book was written, but he is a Mayan medicine man. Before we get into this month's reads, let's get into this month's treat. And I will have to tell you, this is the second time that I'm recording this video because the first one actually got deleted, but I was not actually that mad because this is Tableta. And so I had to remake Tableta. This is actually the third time that I've made it. It is so good. So what Tableta is you take brown sugar and in a pan, you melt it down. You can add a little bit of water or condensed milk. From the recipe that I have, it says the traditional recipe does not use condensed milk because it's already sweet as it is. Once you have melted down your brown sugar, then you add coconut and some ground up ginger. And then you let it solidify and it becomes, depending on how much you cook it, it becomes like caramelized. Mm, it is so good. The first book that I'm going to talk about is Beka Lamb, and this is by Zee Edgell, and this is the winner of the Fawcett Society Book Prize. And I chose this book to read because of the description that I got, and that is it's a coming of age story. It's about a 14-year-old girl and some of the struggles in her life. But we also see a lot into the political structure of Belize. In particular, you have the character of Becca's father and grandmother on opposite sides. And there is a big election coming up to determine whether they stay with England or whether they go with Guatemala. And that is the underscore of the story. But Becca is the main story. She is our principal character. She's 14 years old. At the beginning, the first chapter, we get a lot of information. And to be honest, as I was reading the book, forgot about the stuff that happened at the beginning. You can tell it's short, but there's so much stuff that happens to Becca. Becca struggles character wise because she is a known liar. She lies to herself, she lies to other people, she's a compulsive liar, and so she really, really wants to be a good person. And I found the character of Becca to be really endearing. Like, you really root for her in this story. So, the first chapter, we hear about her best friend, which is Toysey. She's 17 years old. I saw it spelled two different ways in this book. It's Troisy or Toysey. So, I'm not sure which one was which. There's like one on the back that said Troisy, but then in the text it says Toysey. I saw it again, so I'm going to call her Toysey. She's her best friend. She's 17. In the first chapter, we find out something happened to her best friend. We do find out later on what that is. It is super sad. There's a lot of really sad things that happened to Becca and the people around her. Becca is a really good friend to Toysey, and Toysey's life crumbles and falls apart. We also have a hurricane that disrupts the city that Becca lives in, as well as destroys a bunch of things, and the town has to come together. There's an essay contest. Becca, we find out also at the beginning that she fails her first year of Catholic school. She's in a private Catholic school because her family is upper middle class. And so she's going to enter this essay contest. She doesn't believe that she can win. Her grandmother says, girls like you don't win these contests. And then we find out, actually, at the beginning, the first chapter, they tell you that she wins. And then I forgot about that. And then at the end, when she wins, I was really happy because I was thinking that she wasn't going to win, considering all the stuff that her grandmother said to her. But the thing that really got me in this book, there is a situation with the bougainvillea plant, and that made me cry, like actual tears at the end of this book. So I really liked Beka Lamb. The first like two chapters were kind of weird. And once you get past the first two chapters, then fell in love with the character. I thought she's a great example of how to build a flogged character and have them grow throughout the book. The things that happen to her family and friends, super sad. And the way that she deals with it is very mature for her age. So I really enjoyed this book and I was glad that I chose it. The second book that I chose for Believe is called Sastun, and this is by Rosita Arvigo. And again, I cheated with this book. Rosita is actually American. She grows up in Chicago. She does spend time in Mexico. But this book is really about her friend, and that is Don Elijio Panti. And Don Elijio dies at the age, I think, of 103, 2 years after this book comes out. But Rosita and her husband, they're both doctors. She practiced naprapathy, which is kind of like massage and chiropractic services together. She's very into like natural healings, and so they bring a lot of their natural healing aspects to Belize to set up a clinic as well as to develop a house there. And Belize's jungles are very unforgiving. You can kind of see what it looks like in there. So it's a little bit about their experience living in Belize, but it's mostly about Don Elijio. Rosita meets Don Elijio. He's at a bus stop waiting as she's kind of practicing her medicine, and she hears stories about him. So she decides to go and become his apprentice. At first, he's not really into it, but she keeps showing up and helping him out because he is kind of elderly, and so he needs her help. He lives mostly by himself. Sometimes his like nieces and nephews and cousins will come, but he is a practicing medicine man, and he talks a lot about like spirituality. And because there is this aspect of the Mayan spirits as well as Christianity that has been kind of combined together. The name Sastun is something that he talks about and something that he introduces Rosita to, and it is a tool for divination. It is an item that the Mayan spirits actually will deliver to you. You use it to help read the signs. And so he has a Sastun, and as he's teaching Rosita, she also will get a Sastun. So I really like the structure of this book. Each chapter starts with a description of a specific herb, and that herb will become important within the story. So I really liked that aspect of it. The relationship between Don Elijio and Rosita is very kind and tender, and she has great affection for him. He definitely struggles older in life. He's alone, and that is a big aspect of the story. He gets swindled by a couple of people, and then there's also evangelicals that come into town, and so he gets neglected by his patients. But his patience wins out because they eventually come back to him as the evangelicals have left. There is a part in this book where Don Elijio gets sick, and I was really nervous that he wasn't going to make it to the end. So I'm really, really glad that he does. We do find out that he does pass away 2 years after this book is published. There's some pictures in here where we'll show you some plants and then her time kind of collecting plants with Don Elijio. So if you're into like natural medicine, I would say this is definitely a book to check out. I enjoyed it. I thought the getting to know Don Elijio, because he's been in a couple other things. There's a couple videos of him online as well, but he's definitely a character, and I really enjoyed meeting him through this book. Hey, thanks for stopping by. Next month, we are traveling to Benin via New York because our Benin author writes the autobiography of the Lower East Side, which all takes place in New York. If you're ever interested in what we have read or what's coming up next, please visit us on Goodreads or Instagram. See you then.